Okay, that's going to be Outlaw Island. I'm going to be starting from boss 3 onwards, since the first 2 are fairly straightforward. Really quickly, there's going to be quite a bit of mistakes. This is my first time playing Fire BM. From boss 3 onwards, though, the difficulty sort of, I think, spikes a decent amount. I actually think the hardest bosses are probably 3 and 5. Definitely number 5. But for boss 3, mech-wise, I don't think it's too difficult. However, you do need to consistently block the boss attacks. Almost all of the boss's attacks have some form of CC. And especially during the water wall phase, this can get you killed pretty quickly, as you will see. I think this is the standard Fire BM opener. For the most part, in the beginning, you're just going to be blocking attacks and attacking the boss until you get to this phase right here, where Sashimi summons his minions. You can see that they jump out of the water, and when they jump down, or when they land, they will cause some CC room wide. So you want to make sure you iframe that. And they will then go to some end of the wall. You can see I'm consistently still blocking the boss attacks. So you can see they're both now going up and start summoning a water wall. Again, consistent blocking of attacks. Now, in this case, I've actually pushed him into a mech phase. So the water wall canceled. And you can see that it says Sashimi armor's up, and that there are 4 sort of harpoons now at the sort of close to the edges of his attacks that you can now pick up. Don't worry too much about the water wall phase. You'll see it later on, but this is the main mech, and it repeats itself twice. So I'm going to show you that. First, we SS out so that we can avoid the CC, and we grab a harpoon. Immediately, we press L and B because you have some options. You have 1, 2, 4, and L and B will be openly available to you at the very beginning. We only LMB once to hook him in, and now we are going to press 1 and 2, alternating them, so that Sashimi can stack a debuff. You can see right now, if you look under his HP, he has, I believe, what's called fish scale armor. And we need to get rid of that buff. So by pressing 1 and 2 repeatedly, you'll start seeing that he gets a biting debuff right there. You can see, I believe it's 20 seconds. We're basically going to keep pressing 1 and 2, alternating them until we can press 3. I believe that happens at 6 stacks. So again, just 1 and 2 in that order over and over again. Making sure we jump over the water walls until we get this sign. Use hook to remove Sashimi's armor once exhausted, and that lets us press 3. And then you can see that if you look at Sashimi all the way here at the top part by my map, you can see that his armor is popping off. After this, he is going to perform again some small that jump CC, and he's going to charge at you. We're just going to SS behind that, pick up his armor. He's again going to do the same thing as if we were still in the harpoon mech, and then this time we're just going to block him with his armor. Care that he does have a get up attack as a result of this, but you can get a little bit of damage, and that is the mech. And then you're going to repeat all the phases just like before. Here's the deal though, I actually was not expecting this, but normally after his mech phase with the harpoons, he will shoot at you with some projectiles. And in this case, I believe, yeah, I forgot to use the projectile resist that comes from Phoenix Wing. So you can see me getting hit, and then I get knocked back because I'm too far away. If you're ever too far away from Sashimi, he will perform that knockback CC. Here is the water wall phase that I was talking about. You can basically see that these giant water walls with a small gap in it for you to walk through. If you get hit by the water wall, it's pretty much an instant death. You get like knocked back a bit, but you'll usually get hit by the water wall again as a result. It's pretty much a death. You pretty much need to either walk through the safe zone or SS through the water wall. And then I can block Sashimi's charges here. So that's how I pretty much recovered from this. This is a stun. You got to be careful with that. And again, here you got to be careful with the sort of the attacks, because you will get CC'd, and that is going to be really bad if you do, because that pretty much guarantees that you're going to get hit by the wall. And you'll see later on, I think I do get hit by the wall in one of my runs. But for the most part, you can see you just sort of block. And that pretty much is the entire mech to the fight. I'll sort of let the fight play out a bit so that you can sort of see how it goes. But again, we're going to repeat that same phase at 40%. LMB to do the hook, and then 1-2 alternating until you can press 3. And of course, we jump over these walls. These walls are not an instant death if they land on you, but they do stack a dot on you. I guess sort of, I don't know, similar to like a punishment dot on you. It does tick down on you. And we're just going to SS through that. And here I forget about the knock-up attack, so just make sure you're ready for that. Here you can see the projectiles. This time I actually did make sure to protect myself, and the water wall phase. And here you can see why it's important to block attacks, because if you do not, you get knocked back, and that wall pretty much will kill you. But you can see that the boss at 3%. There were no more mechs after this, so you know, I clear him sort of like in the next attempt or so. But there's really nothing else to it, so I'm just going to move on to the next boss, since you've already seen all relevant mechs. Let's take a look at where does boss 4 start. Right here. Okay. So boss 4, I want to say, is a little bit easier than boss 3. Actually, I would say probably quite a bit. You don't really have to worry about as many attacks. So again, standard, or at least I think this is standard Fire BM opener. To start, here is one of her attacks. It is she throws these sharks in 4 directions. You can sort of just sidestep it, or you can SS it. I believe they induce a knockback and knockdown. Here we begin her sort of main mech phase, where it says that she's firing flares. You're going to sort of pay attention to the ground. You can see that there are these flares that are about to drop. If you look into any of these flares, and their radius of what they consider looking into them is fairly large, your screen will be blinded, very similar to a gunner alt or a assassin tab, and then she will perform a special unblockable move that will one-shot kill you. I think you can see it later on. So you can sort of circle around the boss so that you can avoid the flares, maintaining, that way you can sort of keep up DPS. Or a safe way is to just sort of walk away from the boss. And then from then on, she'll start throwing these poison bombs at you. Now, the poison is actually not iframeable, although the main hit is. And you can sort of avoid them with, right there, flash step. I usually use flash step and SS. I kind of mess up twice here, and the poison results in me getting killed. The third one, you can just look at her and gap close. This is her sort of 360 attack. You block it, it's not really that big of a deal. The boss damage here, though, in Outlaw Island in general, bosses generally do quite a bit of damage, so do be careful with that. There's her 4 shark attack, and then here is her 1 main sort of regular move. It's blockable, but you do need to be careful. She sort of did that twirl, and you can see that she's aiming 1 gun into the air and 1 towards you. You need to make sure you block this. You can see right here, she tries to do a hook. If you look closely at her hands, you should be able to see a hook between her character and mine, although I blocked the attack. And then, but if it lands successfully, she'll hook you in and then knock you into the air and juggle you. You can see there's the attempted knock up with the kick. Here we go back to another mech phase, and here I believe you will see me mess up. Unfortunate here, but I think I V into the wall. Yeah, and so I take a crap ton of damage that I normally wouldn't. The dot damage is actually quite high, especially since I do believe I pushed her immediately again into doing the mech phase. Yeah, and then I get hit by the other one. You can see it's fairly long range. I actually did the mech quite wrong, but I will show you how I would normally do it over here. Where is it? Nope, that is boss jig. Actually, I think I should have just left the video as is. But normally I would SS, or sorry, V the first one, SS the second one, and then gap close the third one is how I normally do it. So let me see. This attack is fairly just sidesteppable. I don't think I've ever gotten hit by that. Here you can see the attempted knock up, and into the mech phase. I can show you what it's like to get knocked up once. Oh, actually no, here's what happens if you get blinded. You can see it's an instant kill. It's actually kind of a cool animation, but it's an insta kill. Okay. Is this where I do it right? I think this is where I do it right. Yep, okay. V. And then you just sort of SS the second one. And then at that point, the flares are gone. And you could just gap close the third one. And here you do not actually have your RMB spec for the proccing F. Not my character. I didn't realize the skills were actually sort of not spec'd the way I normally would spec them. And here you go. Again, V. Or actually, I don't know why I didn't V. Oh, and I have a flock open. SS. And then just 2. And then you gap close. And then is this where this might either be just the clear or the one where I get hit. That's just the clear. But that's normally the only thing that you have to do. Making sure you dodge those poisons, because they can actually be quite dangerous. The actual basic boss rotation isn't too bad, especially if you just do quite high DPS. You usually just end up pushing the boss into mech phase after mech phase. Okay, final boss. The boss has quite a number of annoying attacks. Some of them are fairly quick. She has various mechs from various different bosses. And she has a double CC bar. Although, I mean, I don't think I ever normally use it except for outside of the opener. And here, I had obviously the most trouble. Especially considering, like I said, new build, and it's been a while since I've done it. Spent probably a good hour on this boss the first time. Sorry, on this character. Maybe an hour, 20 minutes. I think the very first time I spent quite a bit of time too. So, how do I start? Normally CC, and no. This was a terrible one. I actually fat fingered this one. I think I just let myself die here. Very quickly, let's just skip. Okay. Yeah, let's skip this. Because, there are some things that I want to do or show. Where were we? There we go. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I did not mean to go V into Z, obviously. So, standard opening normally. You again knockdown. Sorry, I had some frame rate issues. But again, you start with your standard opening with one exception. You want to make sure you get off your X. So you want to sort of do your kick, your boot, your phoenix swing, your X, your projectile resist before going into draw stance. If you don't have the DPS to immediate pusher. The reason is all of her attacks do quite a bit of damage, and I think you can see here I did not use it. Yep, but that attack does count as a projectile, and if you have your X up, your X projectile resist up, you actually can heal quite a bit of health off of it. That is a mech that I just saw. An important attack. You saw that she sort of threw a turn on the floor. There'll be a red AoE indicator on the ground. When it disappears, you need to jump, because you're going to get those room-wide shockwaves similar to Lusang minus the sun, but they do quite a bit of damage. And then we bring her to her first mech phase at 75%, where she will snipe you from above and summon her cats. Immediately when that happens, you want to get to the right side of the room, at least according to the map, looking at the map, because that's the important cat. There's going to be 3 cats. Clausen. And Clausen is the cat you need to kill first. He is the one that deals the most amount of damage, as well as performs some CC. In particular, he does a knock-up, which pretty much means you will die. He also throws a bunch of bombs at you. So you want to CC them. You can see that there is another cat spawning at the top. That is a healer cat. You kill them second. And then you will see a tanking cat. All the while, you're going to get these sniping marks on you, where she'll be, I believe the boss name is Yarharan, will start sniping you from the top. You got to make sure you iframe that. Consistently moving, but you also need to be careful, because if you do consistently move, you're going to be also chasing Clausen around, and he, like I said, does quite a bit of damage. And if you have any bursts, you generally want to save it, because if otherwise, keeping Clausen around for more than a few seconds will result in pretty much that. You just sort of die instantly. So yeah, you got to be quite careful with how you manage your burst, because you want to make sure Clausen dies like ASAP. So if I can take this to, I believe, the clear. I don't know why I looked this person up. I think I misclicked. Okay. So here, like I said, it's not normally my account, and I don't normally play with this exact gear set. So I made some modifications. I think for my clear, I did not use Phoenix Swing, because I think I can see clearly that it's still on cooldown, and I sort of slowed down my DPS so that I could keep it for the cats, making sure just to block the first attack. Now, if you don't push her into the mech phase after she does her sort of version of quick shot where she points the guns at you, she will do this sort of longer version of Boss Force 360 attack. It has this sort of little annoying knockback. A special thing to consider is that this does not count as a projectile, even though she's shooting a bunch of bullets at you. So if you have your well, for example, on my assassin, if I drop a smoke screen, it will not protect you from the knockback or the damage. And same thing for Blade Masters. I want to say it's called Warding Spirit, the X. That will not protect you here. It's also fairly long. You can see here it's longer than the F block for Blade Masters. Still got pushed a bit back. And then you can see more clearly here the turret being thrown. The red AoE is disappearing, so I jump. And she will do that 3 times. After that, if you don't immediately push her into a mech phase, you do want to get rid of those turrets, by the way, because they do also do quite a bit of damage. She will do a pretty far range inner outer AoE. You want to make sure you iframe that. Here I did not. They do a shit ton of damage. And then here you want to make sure that's the quick shot. If you had your projectile resist, you would heal a bunch. Here she jumps back and away from you and tries to throw an anchor at you. You want to obviously not be in the way of that anchor. Then here she is doing, these attacks hurt quite a bit. She sort of snipes in two directions, forming a line. You pretty much want to follow her. I did not follow her there. That was luck. But you pretty much do want to follow her. I do not think this is the clear. I think the next one's the clear. Yeah. So... Yes, actually, I should have known that based off of my timing, too. All the while, I didn't even realize I was also playing with some of the wrong skills. But... I had the LMB and RMB spec'd to the wrong one. But what I did here is sort of still important. You can opt not to use Phoenix Wing. I think here, yeah. See, I still didn't use Phoenix Wing during the. Yeah, just reason being is I think given this particular gear set, it's just more valuable to have some kind of burst. Right now, this character has stat wise only has like 49% crit. Has a 1 minute soul, and is at like BT gear. And the problem with that is there's not really a lot of burst here after that soul and that bracelet are gone, especially since there's no Dawnforge, Riftwalk, which is what I'm used to playing on BT level BM. There's like no burst left. And I spent a good amount of time trying to figure out the optimal rotation given this sort of gear set. But yeah, I found that if you're using that 1 minute soul and like Raven weapon, you're not gonna, killing these cats can be quite problematic. You just don't have any burst after your V and your soul are done. So I generally just sort of aim to save it. It lets you just perform overall better. Like I said, you saw there, I haven't been showing the cafes, but you generally do kill Clausen first. Like I said, he's the most annoying. You kill the little healer cat. This fatter cat, Cutlass, is a tank cat. So definitely kill the healer before him as well. When he does this, what he's doing right now, he sort of does the crouching thing that summoner cats can do. He gets massive defense buff. You can CC him out of it. Here I was sort of just leeching and just sort of hitting into it, even though you can see me doing significant less DPS. And then you can see those two giant circles around me. That is from Yarharn. She's preparing to throw sort of like a bomb down at you. When those two lines overlap, the circle will stop following you and you want to get away, or iframe, either one. Okay, here. After you finish the cat mech phase, she's going to jump back down. If you are far away, like I am right now, you can see that she's about to throw a bomb at me. You got to iframe that. If you're close, you can just immediately start the fight. You can either iframe that or you can just gap close that. It's up to you. I did both, sort of. That's the attack that I mentioned before. This attack, I believe it does a bit of a knockback, but it's very easy to avoid. I believe usually after this you get, she follows up with like a knockdown sometimes. Yeah, right there. But both of those are easy to avoid. Now after the anchor ability, she does one of two things. She could either try to counter, which is what she did right there. The counter is very similar to Yunseng's in the sense that you only get countered if you hit from the front. If you actually get behind her, you can start attacking her immediately. If you do get countered though and hit into it, she will knock you back. Here you could see her 360. The anchor that she threw after she does the jump back will continue to bounce off the rooms, getting smaller each time until it disappears. So it do make sure you don't get hit by them. The other thing that she might do instead of a counter is sort of throw something at you that would snare you. That's blockable. She has a habit of also getting into walls too, which I kind of hate. And that can really mess you up during your fights. So you can see there's the counter. I think I mostly just waited out. But fighting into a wall is kind of annoying. So there you can see her turret phase. And then the AoE. And then we're going to push her into the mech phase. Again, making sure we kill those turrets. Now, 25%, she's going to do the cat thing. Obviously, now you can... Here you can see that I have a Phoenix Wing up. So you can, of course, use it to sort of, just do the mech over again. Or easy way, get in position and just alt 2 cats down. There you go. Problem solved. You can see here I take a crap ton of damage. Those snipes really do a lot of damage. And I was not paying attention to them. Yeah. Here you're going to see the mech thing again. We're just going to SS. Get back in, stun the cat. And we got to be careful here. Here I'm iframing them. Here I iframe the initial blast and then move back here. Again, she's going to throw bomb. SS, gap close. That is not blockable. I don't know why I didn't SS immediately after that. And here I think, is this where I died? No. Okay, no, this might be the clear. Yeah. After that, I would say you're pretty much home free after that second one. As long as you've got the basic rotation down, you're pretty much good to go. She doesn't really add anything after that, yeah. You can see here that I actually have mad bleed stacks though, and I die immediately after that. You definitely want to avoid those anchors. But, yeah. Aside from that, it does take quite a bit of practicing. Mainly, I think, in terms of clearing, the difficult parts come from just sort of figuring out where you're pushing her in each phase and given your current gear. So like I said here, I spent a good hour and 20 minutes, I would say, based off of my clear... Well, actually, the whole video's I think an hour and a half-ish. I was sort of playing... Like I said, Fire BM for the first time. I didn't realize that some of your skills were not spec'd the same way that I would spec them. Like you have PvP, like this character has PvP, LMB, and RMB in non-drawn stance spec'd for whatever reason. So I didn't notice that. But aside from that, it's going to come down to figuring out sort of where your DPS puts the boss after sort of their opening and in their mech phase. So like in this case, I was able to on the last boss, if I would boot and then use Phoenix Wing and then proc the Dragon Bracelet and the 1 minute soul that's on this character, I could push the boss into a phase, into the cat phase, but then I wouldn't have any burst for the cat, and it would just like murder me because it would take way too long to kill the cat. So I ended up having to hold off burst in the beginning so that I could keep something around. It's going to depend on some other characters. Like for example, on my own personal BM, I have my Dragon Bracelet uptime almost all the time because I have the 30-second cooldown from both BT SS and the weapon Riftwalk. So I generally just open with a V anyway, and I also have the short cooldown soul, so I pretty much always have enough burst to kill the cat. There's never really any cooldown on that, so yeah, getting adjusted to the longer soul and the different builds sort of did take some time. But yeah, aside from that, it's just going to come down through practice, repetition, and again, paying attention to where the boss is in terms of mech phase and where your cooldowns are in terms of burst. Overall, after the clear, after you get your first clear, after you learn what to do, it doesn't become too bad of a boss fight, and you can generally get some decent drops. You can get some you get her outfit from beating her. You can get divine grace stones. You get a PvP belt as well. So it's, and like I believe 11 gold per day, so it's actually a decent thing to farm. But that's everything. Yeah, nothing else to it.